question. What do you do when the other guy?
Caleb, can we start this one again? Oh, we're live? Oh, shoot.
Jazz Helpline, calling out Jazz Helpline. Are you there?
Is anybody still left?
Sorry, I threw you a curveball. Well, I wanted to set up our question that is forthcoming.
Yeah.
From one of our dear members on this particular tune. So I decided to mess up the bridge in order to answer the question, what do you do when you're playing with someone that messes up the form? Do you go with them or not? That's my question for them.
Well, we went somewhere. Well, no, so it was great because I was like, for most of the first half of that performance, I'd hit a C major when I wanted to hit a C. No, I had a C minor when I should have hit a C major the first time we went back around.
Keeping score, buddy.
And
It's all good.
Well, I was in my head, and then when you messed up the bridge, I was like, well, I'm home free on that first big.
We're even.
No. It happens. Those are hard tunes when everything's really similar.
Right.
There are these subtle changes that happen.
And we have browsers going off hearing what we did 2 minutes ago.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
always
the whole day. And also, Peter, sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you. It happens to the best of us.
Eat the frog. Eat the frog first.
Yeah.
As they say. What's up, everybody? Good to see some friends in the house, Colleen and Rich on the live chat. David, what's up, David? We're going to be showing a video of you, David. I hope you authorize that. I think you know that because you sent us a video with a really
I'm so
fun
excited
question.
about this. Yeah.
Joe, what's up, Joe? What's up, Ed? Hope42J. Meryl. Peter says, thanks for Song for Kaya on Spotify. I love it. The nice song. Yeah, that's actually, that's probably from the duo album I did with Homero Lubombo. It's Homero's song. I'd love to take credit for it, but I did play it with him, and it's a beautiful composition. We have, if you're an Open Studio member, there's actually a really good lesson on that tune. Thank you, Joe, for the congratulations on the run streak. I appreciate. Yes. No.
Oh, yeah, man.
I did not run. I did not streak. That's a weird word. What's a better word I can use?
A run?
A run?
It's like a run of
No,
runs.
I didn't have to run.
No.
Well, maybe
So for those of you who don't know, Peter, yesterday, not only did you run a half marathon, which in and of itself is an amazing achievement.
What's half as long as like literally 50,000 people did in New York City yesterday.
Yeah, hey, but don't sell yourself short here. Not only did you run a half marathon, but that was your day number 500 in a row of running, which I think is amazing. Which I said last week as we were talking about this, like, didn't you have COVID at one point? Like, didn't you have a cold? Didn't you travel? Didn't you fly to Europe a few times?
The COVID days weren't the hardest days. Actually, none of them were really that hard. But yeah, I mean, it was good. So I would just say that, because this is a little bit of foreshadowing to, I think, a video we're going to be releasing this Friday that that you put together that I think is just brilliant. And we talk about getting a mentor, having, a guru. We didn't use the word guru because you informed me that that's a little bit of a tricky word, which I understand.
I did end up using it a little bit.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah. But it's just to say that the run streak, somebody that I follow, big shout out to Hella Good, who's a great runner and YouTuber, is just had his 2000th day of his run streak, which kind of inspired mine. So that puts things into perspective when people are like, oh my gosh, 500 days. It's like, it's fun for me to look around the corner and be like, well, 500 is one thing. He just did 2,000, which has included at least several. Well, Hella did his name is Hella Sabide, but he goes by Hella Good on socials and on YouTube. You'll see him. I mean, he's kind of a rising star. He did some ultra running marathon. He's a young guy. He's like 30 years old. But he did some really incredible things. Like he flew to Australia. He was going over to do a Hoka event. And he told them he had to stop. Was he flying from like New York? The timing of it was basically like he had to stop and stay over in San Francisco because he didn't want to miss his run streak because he was going by he lives in New Jersey time. And he was like, by the time he got to Australia, he would have missed a calendar day. So he stopped to like take a worse connection in San Francisco to go out and run to make sure that he didn't miss.
Amazing.
So, I mean, my streak is fun, but there's people that are on a whole nother level with that.
Well, either way, everybody give it up for Peter Martin for hitting 500 days in a row of running. That's incredible, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, give it up. Brother. That is a really hard thing to do.
Kylie said she'd only run if Bigfoot was chasing me. That happened one time to me. That I ran very fast. David Robinson is freaking out because he's an LA boy, and it's raining out there. You know what people in LA do when it rains? They sing that song who's the song by Caleb or Adam? It never rains in Southern California.
No idea.
You don't know that? Jazz Helpline, help. Peter's singing R&B songs from the early 90s.
Oh, I don't mind that.
You don't know that? It never rains. Maybe, this hits home close to people out there because they're freaking out if it's actually, It Never Rains. Is it 1972 song? No, that's not right. It never rains. Really? You never heard that? I'm just singing into the... Yeah, that's kind of... That would be a good intro. Not that. That's too... Anyway, I can't remember who it was. But people freak out there, Boom. Okay, so we're going to... This is the Jazz Helpline. And we're going to get to some questions in a second. Open Studio Pro. Ooh, who's noodling now?
I'm giving you some
rainy weather.
I'm foreshadowing the video that's coming out on Friday where you're you're my hype man.
This is gonna be interesting. The reception on this. I hope people don't feel like I'm noodling behind you as I noodle behind you.
No, man.
In the video,
So
Tony. That's the one.
Oh,
yes. Exactly.
I miss Tony.
Which one? Tony or Tony?
Tony.
Reigns. And I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Tell them what we're doing here. Explain to people what the helpline is.
So this is Jazz. This is Jazz Helpline Live. We're here every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. If this is your first time on the channel or you don't recognize the You'll Hear It logo over there, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the like button no matter what. We've got 70 people in here. We've got 9 likes. Hit the like button. Help spread the word because we're going to be live for the next 47 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And
Tony. We can't play the video because we'll get It Never Rains, but I can sing it without getting a strike. You remember them? Tony. Just a little thing there. Okay, that was it. There you go.
Good stuff, Pete.
Yep.
So anyway, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the like button if you don't mind, and we'll keep it.
Why are you hating on Tony?
I love Tony. Who's the
lead singer?
Yeah. No. He had braces for a while.
Young guy.
He had braces. Anyway, Hit the like and subscribe while we're getting started here, and we're going to answer some questions.
If you love Tony, hit the like button.
That's an easy one. Also, if you're an Open Studio member, we have a section in Open Studio Pro where you can leave us a question and you get preferential treatment.
And this is what it looks like right here.
Right there.
And we've got some great questions. And should we go to the first one? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Should we go to David Robinson? I've actually got it pulled up here. There's our friend David.
Thank you, Joe. Raphael Sadiq. Yes.
Raphael Sadiq,
Thank
of course, who went on to have a great solo career. The other guys went on to work at Kmart. That's not true. That is not true. I shouldn't have said that. Okay.
Please write into Peter Martin at Open Studio.
Here we go.
Hey, Peter and Adam. I had a question for you. I played a gig last night with a vocalist and a bassist and no drummer. And at times I found it very difficult to stay in rhythm. I was trying hard to listen to the bassist for his quarter notes, but sometimes he didn't use the quarter note or played in time, but just didn't give me the quarter note. Do you have any tips? Thanks.
That's a great question. It might be.
Hey, Peter and Adam. I had a question.
We don't have
for
to
you.
hear it again.
You got another one?
No.
It might be one of the most important questions that we can answer because
drummerless gigs.
Well, I think framing it more of just like it's everybody's job to keep the time, and so you really have to be, even if there is a drummer.
Yeah,
you need to be doing that.
Sometimes a really good drummer, or even just a serviceable or average drummer, can cover up some deficiencies that other folks in the group have with doing what you're talking about, I think. And so I think it's a great opportunity when you're playing without a drummer to really focus in those things kind of individually and together on how you're going to really lock in that time together where you don't rely on the drummer. Because then when the drummer comes back, you're all going to be stronger for that relationship and allow them to play in a little different way, perhaps.
Absolutely. But you really have to, I mean, don't you think so? Step one, David, is, and we've talked about this so much, ad nauseum, even. But this is the Christian McBride thing on his video for our new course, Mastering Rhythm. They talk about the triplet subdivision, at least in the swing rhythm. So that would be like if you're, give me a little B flat blues, Peter.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing with another pianist here at this thing, there's no drummer, obviously. There's no bass player. So if we're doing this, 1, 2, 3, and so it's really our job to play the drums in our mind. And Christian McBride talks about how he has the shuffle going, the triplet shuffle going. Now, David, even if I were doing this solo piano, I got it. Amazing to do when Peter Martin is over there, but that you hear Christian, to hear him vocalize it, he's just walking the bass line, but we can all do that. And I find myself, especially when we play on these sessions, Peter, like, you know, I want to make it so that we're both feeling the time. So I'm listening to what you're playing.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining I'm a drummer and I have this internal drummer.
Yeah.
So you're both subdividing and you're creating the feel. Right, and
let me just interject real quick because I didn't know if you noticed this, but I was throwing in what I was trying to do was out of time bass playing.
Okay,
and I was hoping you do what you did, which was you were so locked in because I think part of David's question might be if the drum, like he
if the bass player is
messing up and you don't have a drummer, it can be even harder. But did you guys hear how Adam was like so oblivious to what I was doing because he got locked into that shuffle feel, and that's a great way you can avoid. We don't want to say bad players, but just when they're not able to give you that feel.
That's right.
Because you're talking about Christian McBride, but he's not here playing, and I was playing the anti-Christian.
If Christian and Hutch were here, I'd be like, "Hey,
it's easy.
I'm on break."
Good with them.
Well, let's do it again. So this time, I want you to kind of do the same thing, David. If you're playing with someone who is not locked in with you, right? Check this. There's some social cues you can do. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3. Hey, man, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. Let's do it one more time. This is serious.
That scared me.
This is serious, though. This is
Right.
some actually like useful things I do all the time. And it doesn't even mean the bass player is like horrible or you're not locked in with the drummer or whatever. It just means like if I'm feeling this rhythm and I like 1, 2, 3. I'll start dancing a little bit.
Yeah. But that actually pulls me like where I'm kind of
Like you can see it now.
Yeah, I'm trying to mess up, but it's pulling.
Even just nodding your head, or even like so you can't really see it, but
Yeah.
heel down here. I'll get this kind of loud. If I want to express to everybody I'm playing with, because sometimes it's okay, and this is totally okay. Sometimes it's okay to be like, all right, everybody, come with me. I got this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drive this train for a while. You can relax in my groove because I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
That's totally cool. Like, and I love it when people do that with me. Like, sometimes
You like when people do that sometimes when like they don't actually have a great groove and it's not needed?
No, that never usually happens. It's usually fairly confident folks.
Well, I've been around that.
Bob DeBoo will sometimes be like,
Yeah.
I got it, like, and he'll just kind of drive that train, and that's great because I'm like, hey, cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what we've talked about before is like be of service to the music, because most people are like, oh, I don't want to be, a jerk and be like, come on with me. And I don't think, and I've definitely done this, and hopefully I don't come across as a jerk, but I don't think you have to really worry about it if you keep in mind that you're trying to get the music to sound great. So it's not about, oh, I don't want them to realize. I mean, that bass player, if he was a little bit weak, maybe, probably even actually knew it and would appreciate. Like, they might feel really good and strong when you've got that strong drummer there. And when they're not, it's a lot of responsibility. Not everyone's going to be Christian McBride. So then you've got to be that Christian McBride influence into that situation. And that's very much like an interpersonal skill, musical skill to have. But don't think about the individual. Think about the music and like what is needed now. Because the piano, and this is what I was talking about, it's not that the piano's better than other instruments. It's that preaching to the choir.
A little bit.
But it's that it's the most powerful instrument in these kind of situations, especially in terms of like you've got bass, piano, and vocals, I think he said. Like, because the piano can either go really light and sparse or nothing, or it can take over the whole band if needed, the bass, the drums, everything. And I think that it's part of our job as pianists is to use discernment to the situation, like to be very, astute in our listening and just kind of putting our finger up to the wind and be like, okay, what does the situation need?
Yeah.
Because of the power, we can overplay. We can come on, play, or we can underplay. And so that's a responsibility that we have, I think, to lead in this area as needed.
Absolutely.
When needed.
When needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great question, David. But yeah, get your inner Christian McBride going. And even if you're doing, because I know in your band, David, you do a lot of Brazilian music. And so I think Elio Alves even talks about this. I know, David, you've taken his course, the Brazilian jazz piano that we have here. But you can keep that, even that clave, if it's like dunk, 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 dunk. You could be the drummer, and really dance the rhythm.
Well, and that's the thing with a lot of the Brazilian grooves, or at least like the Brazilian musicians I've played with, it's such a similar thing to the way you talk about like a shuffle, the way really good shuffle players would play, in that everybody that can play it is all on top of it. There's not like, oh, wait, is it going to go here or whatever. So like there's actually these little bit of, time abrasions and stuff that give it that humanity. And so like with, typically when I'm playing with, well, I mean, look, there's probably some horrible Brazilian musicians just like everywhere. But to me, it always feels like the ones that I hear.
Well, there are 200 million of them. Surely one of them's not great.
But there's not as many.
Well, I haven't heard them yet.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just like because they prioritize the feel as a cultural aspect of the music beyond just what we're saying, like jazz or whatever. Like there's, like for instance, I've done gigs down there where, with Diane Reeves, where we've played like a Brazilian song that is kind of known, and she'll kind of invite in people to sing along like she's done all around the world. But in Brazil, it's one of the few places where people come in and they're like singing good as a whole, like a certain quality level, but also the groove is there. It's kind of shocking when you just get to the general public coming in and you're like, and I mean, I don't know if that's a better musical education. They're listening more. I believe it's probably more nurture versus nature in reality, but it is what it is, and there's different places. It's a very exciting thing to be part of. So
Italy has they sing.
Italy, I miss the singing culture.
Yeah. That's great.
Singing.
Cool.
Should we?
Let's go to our next video.
Around. Should we do another one from Open Studio? We had two really good videos on Open Studio Pro.
I do have some speak pipes that are very good.
Okay, why don't we jump to a speak pipe?
Okay, this is Reese.
Because we are multimedia here.
So if you want to leave us the speak pipe, you can go to you'llhearit.com.
Right.
And leave us a voicemail. Here's Reese. You could also leave it on Open Studio Pro there if you like.
If you must.
Hey guys, my name's Reese, coming from the South Shore of Massachusetts. Absolutely love your show. It's one of my favorite things to listen to when either just driving or in the practice room. It's amazing. Really, really helpful. But my question for you guys is, how do you incorporate or practice to incorporate counter melodies or counterpoint in your left hand when you're improvising? This is something that's always given me a lot of struggle, and I want to try to move away from my default of just playing a chord in my left hand and playing a melody in my right hand.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much. Again, awesome show. Thank you.
Very cool.
Right.
Great question.
Flattery will get you everywhere. No, thank you for that. Okay, one thing I'm thinking about here when we talk about a specific technique, and that's really kind of can become an interesting attribute to your playing. Some things are harder to sort of specifically and consciously incorporate into your playing through, kind of regimented practice. But this is one that I think is pretty easy to.
Yeah.
Because it really can benefit you to develop this by breaking things down and adding this in the most simple way. So the first where I think of, like, if we're playing What's New, as we just were going to have another good question about that. So you could think about, what is the easiest way for me to practice counter melodies with the left hand? Well, probably the easiest way is just by itself. So it'd be like you're singing the melody or imagining do down, dee 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 do, boo dee doo dee doo dee. So not only am I breaking that down in terms of not playing anything with the right hand, but I'm still going through that process of playing it, because the counter melody has to be counter to something, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but eventually that's what you're going to want. You maybe have a couple of them going. So, but where do you start to get there? Don't even play them. Go even more simple. Sing one, but still have that going. And not only are you playing the counter melody, you're playing it in between the breaks to the melody, because that's really important. Because once you go to start playing it, I'm going to recommend that you play it in the most simple way where you can really focus on those melodies. Later on, you can do that. Where you're actually playing the melody at the same time. Like, that's, if we think about it as like really easy to hard, simple to more complex, that's the way you're going to want to practice. And the great part about this is there's an entry point for everyone that kind of needs to be that same place. Now, you also notice I'm not doing the bass line, of course, or any kind of voicing. You add that later too. And you can add that in two different ways. The simpler way is what you're going to want to do first, which would be just the left hand, maybe without even singing the melody, but then you can add that in, singing or playing. So it'd be like, do-dee, wee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-da. So I'm playing the bass line and the counter melody, but I'm only, like the first time, playing it in between the melody. So if you use this kind of framework, you're just adding a little bit, and you can go, this is not to fit all this into a day, but if you think about it, that might be 7 to 10 different ways to kind of practice that as you're adding these elements. You could do, if you have some nice time to practice it in like 7 to 10 days, or maybe 2 days each, then you're looking at 20 days, you're starting to maybe just over this A section, have that segment of your practice and really be able to start to get some of these counter melodies going, because this is a long process to get to the point where you're really, I mean, it took me, you know, I wish I'd been this intentional about my practice with it, but I just kind of started to throw it in, and like different things I would transcribe, which is a great way to do it, but it's very arduous to do it that way because you've got to be able to hear all that stuff, and it can take hours just to get one measure.
Yeah.
So I wish I had combined that with this way. Like later on, I kind of reverse engineered. It was like, wait, what would be an easier way to get here? Because it took me years the way I did it.
It's man, that's so cool to hear, though. All really good stuff. Another way in to this, Reese, might be a kind of I think the most basic way to do this too would be to start with like. Almost like you are walking a bass line. Right, so I'm just playing chord tones mostly.
That's great.
And then, you know, once you have like chord tones together, you can start doing chord notes. Or the easiest way is realizing that you can do the Barry Harris thing. Half step below, diatonic above, any scale tone. So, right? That gets you melodies.
Yep. It's almost like you're melodically riffing.
Right, exactly. Right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got out of G, right?
Right.
By doing the half step below, diatonic above thing.
Yep. And that could be.
Yeah, it's so easy. Or just two notes off a chord tone.
Yeah. And that's great because from a melodic standpoint, you're doing the same thing. You're starting very simple. You've got the format playing the melody, and now you're playing a little bit, almost still in between, but almost along with it. But you're taking what is the simplest melodic kind of movement that you can do. It doesn't get, you know, a melodic riff that then you can start to move around as you're playing underneath. Simplify and isolate, I think, is the key to this.
One more thing you might try. I just thought of maybe scale running too.
Scale running. Reminds me of the great movie Cool Runnings about the Jamaican bobsled team.
What a great movie.
John Candy?
John Candy. Anyway,
Yeah. Cool
Yeah.
runnings. Scale runnings.
scale
Sorry.
running. No, I think that's a good.
Gotta have fun with it.
Those are all kind of good ways into this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great stuff. Fantastic question.
Great
and I
question,
think-
Reese. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we? No, we can't go to the chat yet because we have an Open Studio Pro and we have another video.
Let's
Really
do it.
excited about this. Open Studio. Actually, no. This is open. This is open to all members, right? Or is it just Open Studio Pro?
This is open to all Open Studio members.
All Open Studio members. If you go to pro.openstudiojazz.com. Well, there's a link below. But probably not for this week because we won't be able to. Well, if you can get it in time, but consider being inspired by David and who is this from? Yossi.
Yossi's
Yeah.
a good player.
To be inspired. So check this out. To maybe leave a video because we love to see you. We love to hear you. So let's check out this question.
This is what Kate is doing on A flat major 7. And then it resolves to D minor flat 5 7. again. It looks to me like he's doing this kind of chords. Like he's resolving from A flat 7 to the D. Then again, in the next A, again it looks like
Super hip. Peter, you actually
and
found
then
this.
there is some clue to this, the same thing here. So what is he doing?
All right, great. Thank you for the question,
Yeah, Yossi.
Yossi. And you know what? This brings up a couple of really interesting things. One of which is that we all, hear and interpret and really internalize and are able to sort of pattern recognize and navigate our way through this music in different ways. But there's different, and what's great about that is we want to learn how to hear the music. When we talk about you'll hear it and that kind of thing in several different ways, but we don't need to worry about if we're stronger in one than the other. Like I can tell Yossi is really good at identifying like harmonic movements in the middle of the piano, like just the way and how it relates to the melody. And this is from a Keith Jarrett recording that we found. I'd actually never heard that he was asking about. And so when I heard the recording, the way that I heard this little change, and we're gonna show you what it is, at least what I'm hearing. I immediately heard it from the bass because I hear everything from like the bass up. I can hear it in the middle too, and I like to hear that. Of course, it's always a combination of kind of clues, but it's just a great reminder that we don't need to master. Well, we want to master each of the different ways to hear things, kind of root and shell, just the root movement. Is it, the bass note? Where is it within the root? Inner harmony movements, voice leading, trying to identify. We need to know all those, but it's okay to kind of prefer one or to have a propensity and an attraction to one or the other. That's actually what makes us all different players and makes things really interesting. But you also want to be able to identify the ones that you may be a little bit weaker in and bring those up too. Because just because you naturally gravitate towards one way of hearing things doesn't mean it's the only way. So I just wanted to point that out. So we found the recording, and it's live. As he said, it was from live at Montreux. We're not going to play it because we're going to get blocked if we play ECM. They ain't nobody over at ECM got no time for anyone playing their stuff on YouTube. But this is why we played YouTube earlier, because we were checking it out. So he's talking about, we go down to the A flat major, and then, so what is that, a whole bar to, it sits normally on, and then it goes to D half diminished, 2 to 5, back to the tonic minor. So what I was hearing him do, 2, 3, 4, and then what Yossi was hearing in there in terms of, and then sometimes Peacock is playing that actually in the bass. I think it's just a 2-5-1 half step above where we're going to the 2-5-1 of the minor tonic.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a 2-5 going to D flat.
Yeah.
But he fakes you out instead of D flat, major 7.
And he moves through quickly, like one beat, just
it's
one beat
real
each.
fast.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense because, if you look at D flat major 7, which is what it sounds like it's going to, at the 3-5-7.
You know what? I'm gonna play a little bit of this. I'm gonna live dangerously.
We'll be fine.
Don't do it.
Couple
No, you're
seconds.
saying.
No, you
Okay.
got it. You got it. Here it is.
Oh, you see, that's what I heard in the bass almost before I heard it.
So
in the
killing. It's so
It's
sick.
real quick and like subtle, and it's just a great reminder that we don't have to when we go to something that's very, it's a little bit deceptive where we go, but we can pull back on it the way that we play it so that it doesn't become like this big substitution. You know what I mean? So I think that's what they're doing on there so well, the whole trio. So it's not just a matter of like, how do you use these substitutions? I mean, this is a relatively simple one in that it's just half step above kind of where you're going. But the timing of it and the fact that they pull back a little bit is the sort of stylistic, impetus to it being really hip, I think.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's what's going on, Yossi.
Yeah.
Like, we nailed it.
Look at Adam was looking nervously. Caleb too. Like, are we getting kicked off? Because I heard a fan go off in here. We're scared. Like we're some little kid. Yeah,
Please
we're like
come.
ECM. Manfred Eicher is going to come and
ECM
get
comes.
us.
Yeah.
We're still here.
I think I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna check the old the Jazz Helpline Live. See if we got any new things happening since we started the show.
So it's That's mine. The other thing is they use that F minor, kind of relative minor of the. What would you call that? Remember we were talking about like C major to A flat major.
Yeah.
You had a good name for that a couple weeks ago.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's like very unrelated keys. It's kind of like I always think about a major third down from a major tonic center and a minor third up. So that'd be like C flat to E flat, C flat to A. And of course, A flat and E flat are closely related because they're one flat apart.
Yeah.
But they're almost like,
Well, A flat is actually part of E flat, and it could be in this case, right? So, because we're going to C minor halfway through, so this is like going to the 4 of E flat, right? And then you go to the 6 of E flat.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's really going to the key of E flat.
Right. So it's very subtle in there, but
Very, very subtle.
and you can hear they do it differently every time they go through the different A section too. Number 4. I want to try to find what did I mess up. This will be let's help each other.
I know exactly.
And he knows exactly. He's mine. Oh, you go right to that.
Well,
Because then it's the 5 of the 2 half diminished to the 5
So-
of the F minor.
F minor. It's just the same as the A section,
Right.
except this is minor.
Oh, a lot of people play major there.
It is minor.
Help, call the helpline and get the right changes from Adam Maness.
Yeah, and the bridge it resolves on the minor and not the major.
Very dogmatic of you. I like that.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Clifford Brown version of this?
Yeah. I feel like we should go out on it. Can we save it? Because we need another swing at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For me.
Okay, so that's the.
The other thing on that, I'll just say one more thing on that substitution. That's one, there's a couple of ways to kind of do it. It's not even really a substitution. It's like a little bit of a transitional bridgey area that you just go to. It's almost like you just sort of jump ship for a second. But we can think about that in terms of how we construct our soul, like as a foundation for a little bit of a different area to go melodically. And there's a lot of ways that I'll use this, and they're not always right on the beat, but you can kind of start by hearing them and feeling them on the beat. 2, 3, 4. So what I did there was I didn't actually go to it in the left hand, the bass or anything, to that A flat, E flat minor to A flat 7. I just sort of used it as part of my melodic thing. So down to the F minor.
So good.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm playing it, but I'm not really. I'm just, and that's probably more obvious than I'd actually. It might even. That's how I usually would do it. Would just be, and kind of land somewhere else.
Man, tell you what, I'm loving Jazz Helpline Live. I think it's the best feature you've ever come up with.
Did I come up with this?
I think you might have.
Let's abandon it next week.
Okay, new thing next week. No. So we're at the point of the show where we're going to open it up. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. I think we got some early on. I'm going to see if I can. But if you have any musical questions or questions about anything,
What about life questions, marriage questions?
throw it in the chat.
We are both participants in, knock on wood, very strong marital situations. Hey guys, I sometimes have a hard time making melodic minor sound good. It's a sound that isn't in my head very strong. What can I listen to really get the sound in my head? I think about like ever heard of it?
Oh, the bridge. Ever heard of it?
So there we've got all that. That's something that you can listen to, play over. Check out the way Miles played over. Cannonball Adderley at that what is that live at? No, it's the Milestones record on Columbia.
Yeah. Also, Joey, the way that might lock it in for you is thinking about it the way the classical musicians think about it. So it is, of course, you can make modes out of it for sure.
Yeah.
But like when Herbie improvises with the melodic minor scale, he uses it like a classical musician. In other words, it's different when it's different when it goes up and then it goes down. Why? Now think about why. It's because leading up to the C,
Useless rules and regulations in Eurocentric music. That's why.
no, it's voice leading. This leads better than that. It has more gravity towards that. And then back down is all about going to that G, right?
Yeah,
The fifth.
absolutely. And I've always
So you
thought,
can use that.
yeah,
Actually, you can craft anything in a minor key.
Oh, you can milk anything with minor key.
Everything goes up,
Meet the
melodic minor ascending. Everything goes down, melodic minor descending. You can do that over an entire minor key. Sound like you know what you're doing.
Well, you know what that's evocative of is, so you're going up, right? Like a, it's part of, it sounds to me as a nice little chunk of the 5 of what we're in. We're in C minor, right?
Yeah.
The 5 altered. So sharp 9, flat 13, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yep. We're getting a flood of nice questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Any deploy tactics? This is from Christian.
Oh,
Any
Christian.
deploy tactics for Have You Met Mr. Jones? First of all, thank you for bringing it. And somebody else has been bringing that back in the comments. I was
Deploy!
I was harshly criticized, ostracized, and otherwise outsized when I brought that up about a year and a half ago on the pod at the old joint, remember?
Deploy!
And I stopped,
I think it was the
thought that
way you were
stupid. People
doing
like that
it.
stupid and disrespectful. And so, but now I've got people begging for the deploy. Okay, we're going to deploy some tactics on the Have You Met Miss Jones. The bridge goes a lot of places, right? No, that's different too. Let's but it right. So pattern recognition is the most important thing, right? So we go to the 4, so you got to hear that. And then we're going down. You got to hear the bass and boom, 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 boom.
Well-
And then up a tritone, boom, and devil's tone, boom, boom, which is a half step above your tonic.
So also, you could just, especially
Deploy devil.
if you want to deploy the original changes, no 2 chords on any of that. Which actually sounds kind of hip. Peter doesn't like it.
Deploy practicing that bridge.
I know, right?
No, I like that. And actually, that's sort of the key, is to have several different ways that you learn this. So,
You could also do the giant steps thing,
yep.
where you're just moving down whole steps, right?
Yeah, and this is a tune that I remember. What locked it in for me, everybody's different, but what really locked it in for me was learn this tune in different keys. Like, because then you start to hear those things.
We're right now, we just picked today in the Monday Masters Club, we're transcribing Gene Harris's solo over in G, in the key of G.
G.
Ray Brown Trio. Yeah.
So let's go to the bridge. And check it out, though. What what I'm thinking here, and I'm not even really thinking, I'm thinking to explain it, but what I'm hearing, this will, I think, because that's the hardest one, you know, to hear that. And then slide up a half step. And the other thing is you can think about the target of where you're going. If you're not sure about the melody, think about that minor 11. Name another key. Let's see if it stays true.
Key of E flat.
E flat. Second A. Okay? So we hit the 4, and on the 9th, down a whole step. Same thing. Now these are kind of easy because you're just going down a whole step. So up that major 7. Oh, I'm not sure about the left hand. So what was that? What's that? The minor 11th though. Remember we heard that from last. And then slide up a half step. One more? Or are we beating a dead horse?
No, that's good. Another thing you might do if you're really a beginner on this, going back to the original key. So, and you're trying to improvise, it has this natural pattern. And so you can do this pattern diatonically, right? Where you're taking a shape through. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's kind of like, I would say, we talk about pattern recognition of how the root movement moves. That's almost like pattern implementation, pattern deployment, if you will, where you're taking a pattern and applying it to those harmonic shapes and the form that you've now learned to sort of lock it in a different way. You know what I mean? It's one thing to know it and okay, that's what it is, but you've got to play it now in several different ways. And pattern recognition, pattern deployment are kind of two sides of a coin that'll really get you to learn this stuff well, I think.
Chip says, question, Peter and Adam, as an intermediate player, I can't play double time. Still slowly working on rolling 8s. What can you do to keep things interesting, improvising without playing super fast lines? Oh, yeah. Super fast lines are boring as hell, Chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of double time, so double time playing is kind of an art to itself that is not necessarily only linked to playing fast. I mean, yeah, if you're double time from mini tempos, they're going to get you into that fast zone. But if you're not feeling that yet, you still need to sort of learn how to play double time because it's not just the same as playing 2 times as fast. Somebody was asking about something about Donna Lee, so we'll take that. So if you think about a little bit of a slower tempo. Why am I playing corny? Sorry. Okay, actually, we have to go even slower to make the double time kind of reasonable. So it'd be like. So we're going walking 4. You don't have to do that. To learn that double time, you either have to be able to play with a bass player, or at least hear that walking bass line, which is sort of like a 2 feel, but it's not an exact. It's not like a.
Yeah.
It's not that, but you are playing it in the same beat placement on that 2 feel. So, but otherwise, if you just go straight to, you know, if you're like. You're just playing at a faster tempo with everything. So you have to first be able to really play it. Let's take it over to blues. That'll be easier for anyone to play.
Yeah.
So now I'm walking 4, right? Being able to have that kind of triplet playing, which can be a bridge when you're going back and forth. But I think practicing with just that 2 feel, even if it's just in the left hand, like, you know, if you can't do the bass line. Where you're staying in the slower tempo while you play the double time lines. And you can slow it down even more, you know. But the trick is to be able to feel both those times, start to feel them, I think, at the same time.
I think, too, if you're just starting out with this, Chip, something to think about is that you don't always have to be Peter Martin here with big, long, fast lines. Like, you can play fast and keep it tight. Like, Peter, let's do that blues again. So this is a little improv game that everybody can do. People at Open Studio Pro love this. So I'm going to start with very wide rhythms and then go very narrow and then back out, right? So
They go wide, we go
That's right.
narrow.
So like dotted half notes here or whole notes. And then maybe some triplets. Every phrase is a little bit faster. And remember, you don't have to do these big, nothing like that. Keep it in your hand. Like, keep it all in one position. Now I'm going to go back wide. Now really wide. Now starting to get narrow. Like, I mean, shorter durations. Now quarter notes. Triplets. All the way to like, this is just like within your hand, right? So you don't have to do like, just be,
Right. Without crossing.
right? So you can like still play fast, you know? That kind of thing gets you like, that's still playing fast. It's a texture that you can get. And is it like a big double timeline? No, it's not that. That takes a lot of practice to get up to that, but you can still have that texture in your hand.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's do one more question. If I saw one I liked, but looks like there's a flurry, a veritable plethora of last minute entrants into the.
Laura.
If you see one you'd like, that's cool too. All right. So, what was the one I saw? Boom, big to cap, to buy. I just like to sing to fill up space. Yeah.
I'm practicing rhythmical patterns in improvisation. For example, triplets in groups of 4, 16th notes in groups of 5. Yeah. Actually, Hank DeVries, we just released a rhythm course called Mastering Rhythm, and I have one of my lessons on there is about exactly this, about triplets in groups of 4.
Yeah.
And 16th notes or 8th notes in groups of 5, right? So like 8th notes in groups of 5, it's pretty easy. You can just take a 4-note shape, you do 4 8th notes, and then 1 rest. So like
4.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Practice playing them over the bar. And then triplets, like if you play triplets, super square. You do it again with 3 on, and then the 4th is rest.
Yep.
Then it gets really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that you'll start to hear, how those groupings correspond, like the feel of it, like when he did 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're doing triplets, 3. You're basically doing groupings of 4, but you have a rest, between each of the 3, not the triplet 3, but the 3 over. It's like 4 over 3. But the feel of that's going to be similar to. Where you're using the triplets in actual groups of 4.
That's right, yeah. Which is totally cool too, yeah.
Exactly. Just like with the 4. That would be actually, the feel is 5. You're doing groups of 4 it's like 5 over 4 over 3.
Right.
You're playing in triplets,
right.
8th note triplets, but you're playing 4 notes with a break, which gives it the feeling of 5. And then you can kind of go crazy.
You really can.
That's actually 5 with the feeling of 6, which gets a little more
Do that again.
square.
Do that again so people hear it.
But I like just the 5 on its own better. So we got 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah, yeah.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's really the way in.
But
And you can even go simpler than this too. You can start with 2 triplets.
yeah, broken thirds over the triplet.
Or you could do 3 quarter note or 3 eighth notes. That's 3 eighth notes with one of them as a rest.
Awesome. Well, you know what? The helpline is closed.
Officially closed. Thanks everybody for your work today.
It is 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern time. At 4 p.m. every Monday, what happens? The helpline is open. Sometimes jarringly so.
And at 5 o'clock it's closed.
It's closed. So thank you guys for being here. We'll be back in 6 days and 23 hours at this very place. Until then,